Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good evening, everyone, to the Fitchburg Common Council for a special meeting December 3rd, 2024. The first thing is to call to the order to the meeting at 7:03 p.m. Please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Present.
Mayor Radafrada.
Here.
Alder Dancer Jr. is absent with excuse. Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Jetzer.
Here.
Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Alder Bafadar is absent with excuse. Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So next we move to item 5, new business, and we're here for a council hearing on the building inspector, the determination of a chronic nuisance premises at the 2151 Highway MM, Fitchburg, Wisconsin. So before we start, our city attorney, Valerie Sisman, is going to explain how the process will be tonight.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I've put together a brief presentation, and I apologize. It does have a number of ordinances in it, a bit of dry reading, but I do think it's relevant and important for everybody to be aware of kind of what the ground rules are. Before we get into the ordinances, I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about quasi-judicial hearings in general. I mention that because quasi-judicial hearings are something that are within the purview of the Common Council, but not something that the Common Council undertakes very often. And so I think a reminder, a refresher, or an introduction for some of you is in order. So unlike many of the things that the Common Council undertakes during its ordinary business, this kind of hearing is not legislative in nature. In other words, you're not here to make law or policy. Instead, you are in effect acting as a jury, if you will, a fact-finding body. This is a hearing where you will hear evidence presented by two sides. On one side is going to be the City of Fitchburg Building Inspection. On the other side, it will be the property owner or property owner's representative and attorney. Both sides are subject to scrutiny by each other and by this council, and by that I mean you're welcome to ask questions. They'll be welcome to ask questions of each other if that's appropriate. Those questions need to be relevant to the question at hand. The question at hand here today, we'll talk about that in a moment, but in short, it's whether there's a chronic nuisance premises at the address 2151 Highway MM. This testimony can be sworn, and in speaking with the property owner's counsel, Attorney Sam Wayne, who is here on behalf of the property owners, I understand it, we did agree that both city staff that are going to present evidence as well as the park representative will be sworn before providing evidence today. The hearing must be fair, okay, and it must be fair because, again, as I mentioned, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. This is a fact-finding mission. The property owner is entitled to due process as well as notice of what's happening here today. There needs to be fairness in the process and an opportunity to be heard. You, as decision makers, must remain impartial you have to base your findings today on what you hear in this room today, not your own personal opinions or prejudices or things you may have heard or rumors you may have heard or other opinions that you might have pre-existing before today. You really need to set those aside and instead focus on what you hear in this room today. As I mentioned, this is a fact-finding mission, and your decision ultimately today will need to be based on the evidence that is presented. Specifically, as it relates to chronic nuisance premises, I'll give you a brief overview. I won't read every word on the page, but in short, the city of Fitchburg, like many other municipalities, has a chronic nuisance premises ordinance, which basically serves this idea that sometimes there are properties that require a disproportionate amount of city resources devoted to addressing the problems that occur there. Again, the emphasis here is on disproportionate. All properties from time to time have problems, and city services exist to assist those properties with those problems. So the question becomes whether the problems at this particular property are disproportionate and whether the problems here require a disproportionate devotion of city resources. The idea is that this article is enacted to encourage property owners to recognize their responsibility to ensure that the activities that are occurring on their property conform to laws and regulations and that they don't unduly burden the property. Specifically, we have Ordinance 74-53, which provides that premises where a department responds to complaints of any nuisance activity 3 or more separate times within a 30-day period is deemed to have received and required more than a general acceptable level of city services. So in that event, when you have these 3 or more complaints within a 30-day period, the appropriate department head has to determine from the facts of each incident and considering the purposes of this ordinance, as I just discussed, whether that premises is a chronic nuisance premises. In the event that the department head finds that a premises constitutes a chronic nuisance premises, then that department head is required by our Ordinance 74-54 to provide written notice of that determination to the property owner. Our ordinance provides the process by which that notice is provided, as well as what the notice should include. So presumably today you will hear from building inspection whether that is something that they complied with in terms of providing the notice and whether all of the elements in the ordinance were met, specifically the address of the property, a statement of the relevant activities, notice that the owner has 10 days to respond, either requesting a hearing before a common council or proposing abatement plan, and a statement that the owner has to keep the city aware of any change in address for future notices. Our ordinance provides for an opportunity for the owner to engage in abatement. So in other words, to attempt to fix the underlying problem. So the property owner is able to propose a plan and the department head is able to either accept it, reject it, or work with the property owner to modify that proposal. The ordinance also provides that at some point if the department head finds that the owner abatement is not successful, that this matter can be referred to the Common Council hearing. Ordinance 74-56 governs the hearing itself. As you can see, if a hearing is either requested by the owner or if the department head determines that the abatement actions are not successful, then a hearing shall be held before the Common Council. Again, as I mentioned, there's a procedural notice requirement. The owner has to receive 10 days written notice of the hearing. After that, the Common Council shall hear any and all evidence that it deems relevant and shall affirm or reverse the determination of the department head. In the event that the Common Council does affirm the department head's determination of a chronic nuisance premises, the Common Council is also able to order the owner to pay the actual costs of city services to respond to these nuisance calls that occurred after the first initial 3 calls. Those costs are to be presented to the Common Council and can include going back prior to today's date, all the way back to after the 3 initial calls. The Common Council can also order costs of addressing chronic nuisances to be paid up until the nuisance is abated pursuant to Section 74-58. And it does provide that if the owner does not pay those charges, that they can be charged to the property as a special charge. The nuisance is deemed abated when no city resources have been responded to the premises to address nuisance activities for 6 consecutive months. So that's kind of the meat of what our ordinance say. So ultimately today, you're going to, as I mentioned, you're going to go on a fact-finding hearing. During that hearing, you'll have to answer some questions. You'll have to answer whether you believe the property met the definition of a chronic nuisance premises, such as that department responded to complaints of nuisance activity 3 or more separate times within a 30-day period. You'll have to determine whether the building inspector provided adequate notice of the chronic nuisance premises determination to the property owner as required by Ordinance 74-54. You will also need to determine whether the property owner's abatement actions were unsuccessful and you'll also have to determine whether the building inspector determined that the property owner's abatement actions were not successful, and whether the building inspector also provided adequate notice that the hearing would be held before the Common Council as required by Ordinance 74-56. And then ultimately, based on all of the evidence that you hear today, both from building inspection and any other relevant persons providing testimony, you will ultimately determine whether you wish to affirm or reverse the determination of the building inspector. Again, the determination that the property constitutes a chronic nuisance premises. If you choose to affirm that determination, you can also elect to order the owner to pay the actual cost of city services provided to date, going back to after the 3 initial responses, as well as, if you wish, order other costs of future nuisance activity that's expended by the city to be paid until the nuisance is abated pursuant to Section 74-58. So I think the process will be that the building inspector will be able to present their testimony and documents that I think you have some are already in the packet, but they can speak to those documents. The property owner's representative has an opportunity to present their evidence as well, or make any arguments they wish. I think if the attorney wishes to cross-examine or ask any, cross-examine is kind of a formal word, but ask any questions of building inspection, they certainly ought to be afforded the opportunity to do so. Likewise, if council members wish to ask some clarifying questions as well, you should have that opportunity as well. Ultimately, there are 2 resolutions in the packet today. One drafted affirming all the finding and providing a basis for that. Then there's another one that reverses that determination. As you're all aware, the council has to act via resolution, and we also have to provide notice of what we're doing today. So those are in the packet. There are drafts. You are not required to adopt either one verbatim. You can move either one, and you can also make motions to amend it if you wish. Certainly that's something you can discuss. You can't approve them both because one affirms and one reverses. So somebody will have to at some point make a motion to move one of the 2 resolutions. If you wish to amend it, you can, or you can review it and then move it as is. So that will be up to the council. There is a closed session noticed on the agenda. If you wish to use it, you can. I would suggest, assuming that we won't need to use it, but certainly if you feel like you do, it's out there. I don't think we need to go into closed session unless somebody feels the need to do that. I don't want folks to feel compelled to use it just because it's on the agenda, but as you're aware, open meetings law require us to notice it in the event that we are even contemplating using it, and so it's on the agenda for that purpose. So I don't know if I missed anything. Please let me know. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer some questions. And then, of course, I will be here throughout the hearing, happy to answer any questions as far as the process is concerned. And that's what I've got for you today.
Okay, so any question before we start? No? You know what you need to do?
I think it would save us all time if we were to stipulate to some facts so that these folks here didn't have to testify to them. We will stipulate that the building department did come out, responded to complaints of any nuisance activity 3 or more separate times within a 30-day period. We'll further stipulate that the notice of the chronic nuisance premises determination of the property owner was provided. And we will stipulate that the building inspector did determine that the property owner's abatement actions were unsuccessful, and that adequate notice was provided to the property owner. And there's no reason for us to waste time proving things that we all agree are true.
And Attorney Wayne, just so you're aware, there are those letters are in the council packet, which are online. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they're excellent. So I think if you want to just stipulate, do you want to stipulate to all the documents in the packet or only the notices? 'Cause I think there's some additional.
Stipulate to the authenticity and, yeah, sure. Yes, to all the documents in the packet.
I guess my other question is, I think there's some documentation from Department of Natural Resources and PHMDC. Do you want to stipulate to those as well, or do you want to?
I see no reasonable grounds to dispute that they exist or were provided to the property owner.
I think that will certainly help building inspection crews through their presentation.
Okay. So any question for Valerie? Okay, Bill.
Well, I guess just for clarity, then the first 3 bullet points are agreed by everyone as fact, right?
I think that's the understanding. So does the property owner wish to present? I guess, can you frame the question for the council?
Sure. I don't see a need for us to all waste our time asking the building inspection department to say what it has done here. It responded to calls, it went out. We're not disputing that. It provided notice of its determination, its initial determination of chronic nuisance, and it determined that it made its determination of the abatement actions were unsuccessful. And it provided adequate notice of this hearing. We can't dispute that. We're not here to waste everybody's time. So
I want to have everything for the record, so I will like to proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so what next is I'm going to turn to the city clerk, so she's going to do the swearing, so the people that is going to speak. So
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to swear you all in at the same time. So if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you please state your name and position for the record?
Paul Scott, Building Inspection.
Gabe Schrader, Building Inspection.
Jack Pearson, Building Inspection.
John Crook, Building Inspection.
John Hosbeck, Public Health, Madison and Dane County.
And then I'll swear you two in as well.
Yes, well, I guess I will be sworn.
No, so the property.
Sure,
Yeah,
Attorney
raise your
Sam
right-
Wayne.
You can just raise your right hand.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And can you state your name?
Yes, Attorney Sam Wayne.
Roger Rinaldi.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we move to the building inspection presentation.
Before building inspection begins, I'll just briefly kick things off by saying we have John Crook, our City of Fitchburg Building Inspection Director, and John Housebeck, the Environmental Health Services Supervisor for Public Health Madison-Dane County. Both of them will do a brief presentation this evening, and we ask that you save your questions regarding their presented information until both of them have concluded their presentation. With that, I'll turn it over to John Crook, City of Fitchburg Building Inspection Director.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. As soon as Chad gets us going here, I'm not getting that.
Can you change the presentation on this one?
I don't. Oh,
There you
Okay, so we're giving you, well, it's gone now. We're giving you the aerial view of where the mobile home park is. It's on MM and Burn Road. Of us people, it's been around a long time. It's been here since the 60s. So that's the aerial view and where it's at. The property was purchased in 2017 by Donna Carlson Rees and Christopher Rees, and it's the Country View Community Park LLC. There's 51 lots, 8.2 acres, 14 dwelling units removed in 2018. 35 dwelling units remain. 9 dwelling units currently are vacant and are tagged. 12 tagged as unfit for use in April of 19. Special inspection warrants were requested in 2020. Raise orders were sent to the owners in 2020 to remove those units. That summer, the fall of 2021, actually was a summer, we met the owners on site. They agreed to remove 9 more vacant units, or remove those 12 vacant units themselves. So we had to go no further. Excuse me. And since then, 9 more vacant units have been tagged as uninhabitable as of August 2022. May 21st, we had that big storm. There was a big, huge power pole on the corner of MM and Burn Road there. Actually, it's closer to B. The power got knocked out there. May 23rd, of course, we had several calls from down there because that's on its own private well and septic system down there. May 23rd, the power remained out. DNR issued a boil water advisory. That's when the private water service is not operable for a certain amount of time. City staff posted the boil water advisory on behalf of the DNR on all the trailers there that were occupied. PHMDC notes septic tank pumps out. So I'll let John talk about that a little later. MG&E was contacted by the city and power restored at 3 p.m. that day. Fitchburg Building Inspection conducted were contacted by multiple residents about little or no water pressure after the power was restored. These calls continued from May 23rd to the end of June. DNR notified Country View on 5/25/24 of a boil water advisory. And I won't read you all that, but due to the power loss, basically any of those private systems need to be boiled water because we don't know if there's any backflow or chemicals in that. On May 29th, PHMDC sent out a public health notice to Country View for raw sewage that was leaking on the surface. It was going across the driveway out into the neighbor's field. June 14th, city arranged and paid for the ground contamination to be remediated because nothing was happening from the park. June 7th, the city arranged and paid for pumping of septic system holding tanks, and the boil water advisory remained in effect. June 14th, the Fitchburg Building Inspection Department, we delivered 84 cases of bottled water to the residents. That was when it was that really super hot weekend, so we made sure they had drinking water. June 18th, Country View advised by the city of violations related to the water and sewer that they needed to correct. First week of June, city staff begins meeting weekly with staff from PHMDC and the DNR to share updates and assessment of progress toward the corrections of the violations at Country View. These meetings continue weekly, still now. Staff had 52 hours, cited 9 tickets for $250 apiece, and those basically are the ordinances that we ticketed them under. There's the raw sewage. And it smells awful. That was running across the driveway out into the field that we, the city, had to take care of. Next. Yes.
What field was that running into?
It ran underneath the road. There's a pipe there. It ran into the neighbor out there by Bucky's.
Oh, okay. So it went across MM.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And there is one of the connections that leaks continually under trailer, Gabe, 35. July summary, July 11th, we met Zoom, the city staff, PHMDC, DNR, and Christopher Rees to discuss ongoing unsolved water and sewage issues at the mobile home park. The boil water notice was still in effect. Sewage still leaking to grade continues. No notable progress to resolve issues during the month. Staff hours, we had 45 hours there. Issued 24 citations at $250 apiece. Basically, the ordinance is there. This is just a couple of the pictures. That's of some of the, basically what the property looked like at the time. Tires, debris. That driveway has got a huge gully in it. August summary, August 12th, on-site meeting with Christopher Reeves, city staff, DNR, and PHMDC. That was when I personally served him his notice of public chronic nuisance. Actually, I didn't serve him. I served his helper. August 26th, received a written notice abatement plan from Mr. Reeves' attorney in response to the chronic nuisance declaration. August 28th, city elected officials and staff met with residents to update on the situation of the park and sewer and answer questions. Boil water notice was still in effect. Sewage leaking to grade remains unresolved. Staff hours, we had 76 hours. Citations issued were 20. And once again, those were the ordinances we cited. We're showing power here. This is some of the ongoing problems we have. Power poles, power boxes that are leaning. We've got some major electrical issues there of no maintenance on that park for many years. September summary. Park manager hired to begin to resolve violations in early September. Water operator hired to begin to resolve water quality violations. Day laborers hired to perform cleanup of trash and debris. September 12th, nuisance abatement rejection letter sent by city to owner with the deadline of October 4th to abate all outstanding violations. Boil water notice was still in effect and sewage still leaking on the ground. Staff hours, 40 hours. Citations, 20. And those are the ordinances that we cited. October 4th, boil water notice rescinded by the DNR. They finally had an operator that actually cleaned the system. Debris, trash, and some trees were removed, and other general cleanup activities did occur at the park. Water pressure remains low at some units, as has been the case since May. Sewage leaking to grade still remains unresolved. October summary, we had 42 hours down there, 17 citations, and those are the violations that we cited. November summary, November 12th, the septic system pump. There was a second pump replaced. I'll let John talk about that. Trash, debris, and general maintenance activities continued. November 14th, a written notice of chronic nuisance abatement hearing issued to Mr. Reeves. Sewage leaking to grade remains unresolved. November 27th, PHMDC issued new order for sewage leaking to grade. Staff hours, 47 hours. Citations, 18. And those were the ordinances we cited. December, sewage leaking to grade remains unresolved. Septic holding tank overflowed due to equipment malfunction. December 2nd, water pressure complaint received from residents. December 2nd, PHMDC issued new order for sewage leaking to grade. So here's a photo. That is sewage again across the road. And the other is just a tree that we were told that an arborist was going to come and clean. That's actually pushing on that trailer. So no tree service. We were told that a contract was going to be presented to us. We never did get a contract from any arborist. Here's the water pressures that we took today. We have 8 and we have 10 pounds. We're supposed to have 20 pounds of pressure. That's barely a trickle. And total hours to date, after 3 calls, we had 258 hours for a total of $16,287. Citations issued to date, 108 at $250 per citation for a total of $27,000. Did the property meet the definition of a chronic nuisance premises? I guess I would hope that we could see that. The water quality and pressure complaints, the 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, there's our 3, but we also had June 5th, 19th, and 20th. Septic system complaints on June 3rd, 4th, and 7th. Did the building inspector provide an adequate notice of chronic nuisance premises determination of the property owner? As outlined in a letter to Mr. Reeves dated August 12, 2024, included in this packet, we did. Did the building inspector determine that the property owner's abatement actions were unsuccessful and provided adequate notice to the property owner of a hearing before the Common Council? Yes, we did. Owner submitted an abatement plan. I rejected it, and on September 12th with an October 4th deadline to get these problems taken care of. City determined the abatement plan unsuccessful and notified owner of the nuisance hearing on November 14th, and the reference communications are included in all the packets. So basically, what Valerie said, all the notifications were said, and I think our party over here to my left also agree that all the notices were sent out legally. And I'll turn that over to John now.
Good evening. So I'm here to share with you the department's concerns specifically with respect to the septic system at the property on 2151 County Highway MM. So the picture that you saw in that first slide, that is the sewer connection under unit number 8. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But to start off, I wanted to give a brief overview of what the septic system is for this property. The system was replaced in 2015 after the previous system failed under previous ownership. So that makes this current system about 9 years old, which is pretty young for a septic system. As you see here, this is a very large system with a large amount of holding capacity and a large amount of infiltrative capacity. When this system was built, it was designed to service 48 trailers that were on site and occupied at the time that the system was replaced, which is quite a number more than what the system is serving now. One part of the system that was not replaced at the time in 2015 was the collection pipes that transfer wastewater from the trailers to the septic tank. Unfortunately, that was deemed to be outside of our authority as the Public Health Department to require to be replaced. Speaking a little bit more about the collection system, because that is a big part of the problem that we're observing on a regular basis at the park. It is a collection of multiple types of piping materials. One of those materials is called Orangeburg pipe, and you see that on the top. And that is essentially a pipe made of compressed tar paper. So you can imagine that's a relatively fragile material, easily crushed, easily torn, easily ripped. Another material that's used in there is clay, which is a bit more modern a material. But again, that material is getting old because most people aren't using clay anymore. That's been in the ground for quite a while. The third material is the PVC that has been put into the system piece by piece as building sewers fail. And the building sewer is another term for the pipe that takes wastewater from the trailer to the tank. And as you might imagine, if you're picturing the trailer park in your mind, it's quite a web of pipes that are traversing the park to bring the wastewater to the tanks. So looking back into our records to see how the system has fared since it was installed in 2015, our first significant complaint on the system came in 2019, where we had sewage coming to grade, or essentially falling on the ground underneath Unit 8. And if you remember that picture from the earlier part of my presentation, it's quite a mess that was created underneath that trailer, and our orders were to clean and disinfect the area and correct the connection between that trailer and the collection pipes. Typically, that connection isn't the problem, or sometimes it is. Sometimes the problem is a clog down the run, the collection sewer, because again, it goes a long distance from the trailer to the tanks, and depending on what pipes it runs into, that may be an issue. So obviously there's the repair and replace. You need to make sure that the pipe is flowing. Typically, these types of repairs can be done fairly quickly. It really kind of depends on what's in the way and how much pipe needs to be replaced. But prior to this date, there were other replacements that happened in the park, and they happened fairly expeditiously, I guess I would say, with an emergency repair requested of the department and then a permit settled with with our office afterwards. So that was in 2019. We finally got compliance in February of 2020, which is 5 months of that situation going on, which is less than desirable, let's say. In 2021 was our second order that we issued to the owner of the property. Again, in this case, we had the septic tank over full. We had a resident at the park that was reporting to us that the alarms were going off on the system and essentially indicating that the pumps were not working. So as the system is designed, water flows into the main holding tanks of 23,000 gallons, and then that water flows into the first pump tank, which pumps it up the hill to the second pump tank. That pumps it into the mound. So there's many pumps in the system. There's many different connecting pipes and whatnot. All need regular maintenance. All need somebody to be paying attention and doing things to make sure that those things are running. So in 2021, which is, again, this is 6 years after the system was installed, the system was starting to have problems. So another thing with pumps in these pump tanks is that if a plumber is replacing a pump that has failed with the exact same pump, there's no permit that's required. So it doesn't always need to come to the attention of our office for plumbers to go out there and do repairs. So I'm fairly certain that there have been repairs over the years that have happened without our knowledge, and that's not necessarily bad in that they're not, not all of those things were needing to be permitted. I'm just, trying to reflect that this is an ongoing process. And as John reported in his statement, the most recent pump replacement was earlier this year when the duplex, the second pump in that first pump tank, was finally replaced after it had burnt out a while ago, and they were relying on one pump for a period of time. So June of 2022 was the next time that we were out there. This one was another where sewage was coming to ground. In this case, it was an open collection pipe that used to be serving unit number 42 that was removed, and nobody closed off the collection pipe for that system. It's relatively unusual for wastewater to be coming up a collection pipe. Usually it goes down that collection pipe. So not sure exactly what was going on there, but the requirement was you need to cap, seal this collection pipe, and you need to clean and sanitize the area that was contaminated. No notification of action completed what occurred in that year. In 2023, we were back out there for another sewage coming to ground, this time under Unit 14. While we're out during that inspection, we noticed that the connection at 42 was still not capped and sealed. And Unit 14 was skirted before we could confirm that that was fixed, so we had no idea that that work was done. No notification of that correction was made until this year, as I'll mention in a moment. So now getting to this year, current time, As John mentioned, we did issue orders in late May, and the initial orders in that situation were for 3 additional units that had sewer water coming to grade. It was a day, as John showed in his pictures, we had the overflow of the sewer or the septic tank that went over the road. In that situation, we did not issue an order simply because Fitchburg BI came on site, took care of the issue. There wasn't a need for us to issue an order saying, get this pumped, get this cleaned up, because they had already taken care of it. However, in August 26th of 2024, we did issue another set of orders for another unit, number 17, that was now leaking to ground. We did finally, around this time, get confirmation that, or not around this time, but we do now have confirmation that units 14 and 42 are now sealed. So we're happy that that's been done, but it's quite a while in coming. And then in more recent time again, we have another unit, number 28, with septic coming to grade underneath the trailer. And then December 2nd, we have the overflow at the tank. So, I mean, obviously, this is a situation with the septic system. This is way over and above what we typically see with septic systems. I can think of only one other mobile home park in the county that we've had problems with, but that was more of that was on a different end of, well, it was a similar deal where they weren't getting their tanks pumped quickly enough. But for the most part, all the other mobile home parks in the county, we don't have complaints about. I guess in closing, what I'd like to say is that the septic system on this property is large and very complicated, needs regular maintenance and to assure proper functioning. The connection of the trailers to the septic system is suspect and needs a responsive owner to correct these problems quickly or replace the collection system completely. And quite honestly, neither of these things have been happening in the last 6 years. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, if you have any question, Jay?
Yeah, hi, John. I have a number of questions. I used to live in a house that had a septic system. And our septic system, it was a mound system. So there was a pump in there to pump it up into the mound. And with that system, we had an overfill alarm. So if for some reason the pump stopped working, there was an alarm that would go off that would say, hey, you got a problem, call somebody now. Does this system have an overfill alarm?
Yes, it does. Every system in the state is required to have that.
Is it functioning?
It has been functioning at times. It is not always functioning.
I just wonder how the tank is overfilling if there's an alarm going off saying, hey, there's a problem here.
Well, alarms can be shut off. Alarms can be ignored.
Okay.
If I want to add to that, Jay, that was the common practice there because there was no on-site manager. And so whoever was the property manager at that time would either shut the alarms off or silence them. The red light on the pump down below is actually burned out because it's been flashing for the last 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay. The next question, looking at some of the pictures you had up here, it looks like those collection pipes are not buried very deep. Is that a concern? I mean, it seems to me like you'd have problems with the collection pipes freezing.
Collection pipes that are near the surface should be insulated. Depending on the age of the pipe and when it was put in, whether that was the code at the time is a great question, right? But yes, the collection pipes are very near the surface, and I mean, they work by gravity. So you can't very well bury them deep and then have them try to
come
out.
Yeah, but you'd still have to have enough flow rate to, take more solid material.
Yes.
So, all right. This is not exactly relevant, but how is a system like this vented? Does each trailer have its own vent?
No. The system is vented at the tank, and the system is vented at the mound.
Okay.
And in Jay, the systems, the modular units, manufacturing units, are vented themselves. The interior plumbing system will be properly vented.
Oh, okay. So they'll have like a Studer vent or something that goes to the roof? Or...
Yeah, usually it's a 3-inch that's sticking up someplace through the roof.
Gotcha. All right. And then just a couple more questions about that. According to the information you had up there earlier, it looks like this has a drain field that's over a quarter of an acre, which is a pretty big drain field. Do we have any idea if the drain field is working correctly?
I suspect that the drain field is working acceptably because it's still taking water. However, in one of the orders that is still waiting to be complied with is we have asked for them to hire a plumber that will go and inspect the pipes within the mound to assure that they haven't been clogged with roots or that are able to take water, because one of the complaints over the years has been the failure to properly maintain the mound area. You have a mound at your property, or you said you did?
I did, yeah.
You did. So one of the things on a mound you don't want to have is heavy vegetation. Right? You want turf grass growing over it, but you don't want trees and brush and stuff growing out of it. This mound was not mowed or maintained properly for quite an amount of time. The question is, did roots penetrate or not? We don't know until somebody looks.
Gotcha. If Dane County cites somebody for a sewage leak, it looks like you've done several citations over the last year or so, or a couple of years, and it seems like what it looked like is the time from the time you cited a sewage leak to the time it was fixed was a long time. Like in one case 5 months, in one case it's still not fixed, right? What's the normal expectation of Dane County for a sewage leak to be fixed once it's cited?
I think the term you're looking for is ordered.
Okay.
So yes, we have ordered the property owner to correct various problems. The standard order is a 30-day order, and so typically 30 days. If it's extremely, like when we have an overflow of the septic tank and that amount of wastewater going to grade and crossing the road, an order such as that would be more like 7 days, but that's what the county ordinances permit us to, timeframes to use.
Gotcha. And one last question on the water system. I saw the 10 pounds of pressure, and it's like, yeah, that's not even close. So do we know what's causing the low water pressure? Is it the pump? Is it a problem with the pump? Is it a problem with the underground pipes? Are there leaks in the supply system? What's going on that's causing that?
So their maintenance crew increased the pressure just recently, like in the last couple of days. And got it up to 80 pounds, which is really high for a system like that. And it will work fine for a day or two, but that's when we start getting the calls, was yesterday. So I think it's just it's a failure. This system, the Orangeburg pipe, the water system, remember all that stuff was installed in the late 50s, early 60s. It's going to fail, just like your car. This trailer park needs maintenance, and there hasn't been any maintenance on this from this owner to the last owner to the last owner. They're reactive instead of proactive, is I guess. And that's how the last 3 owners have been, more reactive than proactive.
Okay.
Okay, any other question? Dave?
On the citations, what was the license? Said they didn't have a license. What
What we're citing them for is there's a city license. I mean, they've got to have their Dane County license, which is actually a third-party entity for the state of Wisconsin. And then once they have that, they come to us and they get a city license, and it's just making sure that they pay all their fees, their park fees, which have not been being paid on a regular basis. And I forget the cost on that, but he hasn't applied for one in quite some time, so.
Thank you.
So he's operating illegally by city standards.
Any other questions?
I'm wondering if the city clerk could provide some information with regard to the licenses. I think she's involved in the issuance of licenses.
I'd be happy to, thank you. I sent a reminder license out to the Mobile Home Park on May 17th of 2023 for the 2023-2024 year, as their current license was set to expire on June 30th of 2023, and no renewal application has been filed. They recently reached out to me on Monday, November 25th at approximately 3 p.m. I'm sorry, at 12:20 p.m., and I received a phone call from Mr. Reeves asking if there's a renewal forms had changed and what the fees were, as well as the parking fees. I told Mr. Reeves that the forms had not been changed and the application fee was $250. I also told Mr. Reeves that I would get back to him on the amount for the parking fees after I'd had the opportunity to confirm what the fees owed for that were. On Monday, November 25th at approximately 3 p.m., I was leaving for the day. Roger Rinaldi came into City Hall explaining he had been given the task to submit the renewal license paperwork. After reviewing the forms he provided, it was determined that he had the wrong forms. I gave him my card and asked him that he email me, and I would send him the correct forms in the morning. On Tuesday, November 25th at approximately 8:37 a.m., I replied to an email I received from Roger with the license application, parking ordinance, and mobile home park renewal license code of ordinances as attachments. I asked him to contact me if he had any questions regarding the application. On Tuesday, November 26th at approximately 3:52 p.m., Mr. Reeves emailed me a signed mobile home park application. I replied on Wednesday, November 27th at 9:16 a.m. that I had received it and inquired if he would be submitting the remainder of the required documents with the fee. Mr. Reeves replied asking what those documents were. I replied with the ordinance language of 5.07 from the previous email sent with the application, as well as the numbers listed on the forms, and the outline of the required document. After that conversation, I have not had any correspondence with Mr. Reeves or Mr. Rinaldi.
Okay, thank you. Jim.
Guess this is a question either for the owner or the attorney. When something goes wrong with one of the sewer systems or whatever, what's the process for the person who's renting to actually get that fixed?
Well, my name's Roger Rinaldi. I took this position the first week of September. I formerly managed residential apartment properties, and I took this position totally unaware of what I was walking into. As far as the septic system goes, I don't have any blocked laterals at this time. Those laterals are draining. Obviously, the tank filled up and overflowed out of number 28. So there are no blockages in the laterals at this time. The pumping system, again, it's a very large system.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Because I don't think you answered my question. If a toilet overflows in one of the units, what does the resident do to complain about it? Because a lot of these calls are going to building inspection, so I'm asking what your process is.
They would contact the office in California.
No one in the state or the county?
I'm sorry?
Is anyone in the state or the county contacted to take care of a problem?
I'm the new property manager, and I have just now started getting calls from residents. I've introduced myself to almost everyone on the park, and I think we got what was the number? We got 24 occupied units on the park out of 51 lots. The park is literally half empty.
And how long does it take you to respond when you get a complaint?
I'm on it right away. Mr. Schrader today issued a violation for a lady with a broken furnace and no smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detector. As soon as I got that notice, that was taken care of today by about 4 o'clock.
Okay, and what date did you start?
I think I started about September 7th.
Thank you.
Any other question? But I'm gonna ask the council. Any other question, council, for building inspection? No? Okay, so next we are moving to you guys to see property owner representation. If you want to add anything else?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Radafrada, and thank you all. Well, Mr. Rinaldi, I just want to ask you some questions. First of all, we don't dispute pretty much anything that the building inspection department has said.
Correct.
We're here simply to let you all know that ownership and Mr. Rinaldi are taking this seriously. It may not seem like it from their presentation, but they are. So I'll ask you, Mr. Rinaldi, what has been done since your retention in early September to fix the water pressure issue and to make sure that residents have clean water?
We've been investigating the issue because there's huge fluctuations in the water pressures across that end of the park. I think today Gabe got some readings of 12 pounds. I went back there later, I got readings of 20 and 21 pounds.
And what's the required?
I guess 20 pounds is the minimum.
Thank you.
Because the system's so old, we're not sure if it's an issue with blockages in the pipes. We're going to install a ballast tank in the middle of the park, and we're going to install 2 booster pumps that actually repressurize the water from the middle of the park to the far end, the furthest points away from the well. The well is all the way on the west side of the property. The low pressure problems are all on the east side of the property. And we're dealing with 70-year-old galvanized pipe in the ground. We really don't know the condition of those pipes in the ground. We turned up the pressure on the well, the output pressure. All of a sudden we had great water pressure on that side of the park for about 3 days. And then I think Gabe will attest that today the pressures were down again. So our only solution at this point is to try to boost the pressure mechanically going to the east side of the park.
And who gave you that solution or that
That's
idea?
coming from Saybell Engineering out of Oshkosh.
And
Chris has been working with them on this problem in particular.
And are they qualified water pressure
Oh,
engineers?
yeah, absolutely. They're the ones who are taking care of our septic system. I got a $500 control panel there underneath my jacket, as well as a replacement warning light for that panel that they mentioned has no warning light. So that'll be repaired tomorrow, actually. We're spending about $5,000 having that panel installed and replacing the check valves in that septic pump system.
And has the company done anything to provide drinking water to residents?
When we had the problem with the boil order, we went to chlorinate the well. I delivered about 180 gallons of drinking water to all the residents prior to the water being shut off. And the residents were notified that we were chlorinating so that we could overcome the boil water notice.
I just want to clarify, this is not a level of chlorination like in a swimming pool, right? This is, you can drink this water after the chlorination. Is that
Well, that's a funny thing. When you chlorinate the well, it raises the chlorine to almost as high as 20 parts per million. I had to drain the well for a day and a half to get the chlorine level down to an acceptable level to release it into the park, which was less than 2 ppm of chlorine.
And that level is safe to drink, but also safe to drink as in it will kill bacteria, but also safe to drink as in
Oh,
there's
sure.
not too much chlorine.
But by the time the water got introduced into the park, we were down to 1.3 ppm.
Okay.
Before the water went out to the park.
I just want to take a second. Do any of you folks dispute any of the conclusions about what, like the intent of these plans or the drinkability of this chlorinated water or anything like that? I just want to give. I don't want the council to think that we're blowing smoke here.
Yeah, well, because that all goes through the DNR, I mean, all that approval had to go through them.
And they did approve
and
after
once
we
they
got done.
rescinded that, and I think the reason we're here is because for 5 months, infants that were 3 months old had no water to drink, no water to bathe in. We've got frail and we got elderly there. And, you know, you go through that every single day, wondering.
It was
brutal.
brutal.
And this is long before you, Roger, so things have improved since you've been there.
Thank you, and I appreciate hearing that. I'm working my tail off, guys, 6 and 7 days a week, trying to get things straightened out.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. Okay, Joe and then Dave.
So, I mean, it seems like you weren't aware of kind of the ongoing issues prior to taking on this role?
No, I walked into a real storm.
Okay.
I had no idea. I turned the guy down the first time he called me. Hey, take this job. No, thank you. And we talked. He made a commitment to me, and I made the commitment to him to come on board and follow through on this project.
My question's for the attorney. Just kind of speaking from the intentions of the owners, why did this issue go on for so long prior to Roger's your name, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Why did the problem from the owner's perspective go on so long before hiring Roger to fix it?
Sure, and I'll tell you, I other than the cost involved, I can't speak to why the problem has gone on basically from May or June until Mr. Rinaldi was hired. I can say that, and this is, I have to admit, this is hearsay. This is what my client has told me. Okay, I don't know this from personal experience.
Can you speak to the microphone?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mayor. Thank you.
No. Yeah. It's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I appreciate it. And I apologize. Mr. Reeves has informed me that, so as you saw, the previous owner, when Mr. Reeves first got involved, it was owned by a different LLC. That LLC was owned by himself and somebody else whose last name was Reeves. I assume it's his ex-wife. I don't know, actually. He's told me that only very recently has he come into full control, managerial, legal, financial control of the organization, such that he is now untethered from a business partner who didn't want to spend money. And now him and his family are very well capitalized and willing and intend to really throw a lot of money into this and solve these problems. And the first step to that, I understand, was the hiring of Mr. Rinaldi.
So I'd like to correct that statement there. Donna Carlson Reeves is Chris's mom.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
she had the money into the park. Mm-hmm. She was the one that we met there the very first time when we took 12 units out. Mm-hmm. We met her personally at the property.
When was that, John?
Not Christopher. I think that was in the 2020. And then we took those out. So it wasn't a wife, it was his mother that he was in partnership with. As of right now, I think on the taxes, we're sending tickets to both of them. As of right now, the LLC is still in both their names. That's our understanding.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the correction.
Thank you. I don't know it either.
I appreciate the correction.
Okay, one at a time, please. Where does Mr. Reeves live?
He lives in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. Okay, Dave.
The state water operator's license for this.
That's Carrie Ann Killian. We retained her. She's our water system operator.
She works for a consulting firm or?
She runs her own business. She does the water testing. She comes out monthly and does the bacterial sampling.
She has a state license.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Carrie Ann Killian is her name.
Thank you.
Okay, Valerie.
Yeah, if I may ask a clarifying question, I think for my benefit and also that of the council, could building inspection and PHMDC speak a little bit about why there are multiple parties involved as far as PHMDC as it pertains to the sewer and DNR as it pertains to the water? And additionally, I think there's some information in the packet regarding the DNR and the actions they've taken, and I don't, if you can provide any information about that as well, I think that might be helpful.
Just a quick 101. DNR is in charge of the water, the well, all that stuff. PHMDC is in charge of the on-site waste system, which is the tank and the mound system and the piping and the pumps to get it there. City of Fitchburg, building inspection, we're in charge of the sewer lines from the trailers to the mains to the tanks. So it's 3 entities. That sounds kind of crazy, but that's how it's involved. So when John says that he can't get, it's not his part to look at the Orangeburg pipe, it's ours, but yet it has to be done by a licensed plumber. All the work down there has to be done by a licensed plumber, not day help, which we are getting some problem with that the work has to be done by licensed plumbers, electricians, but John also, he's aware of that too. So that's kind of what it is. So that's what each person has, or each group has a section of.
And I would just add that that's established by state law.
Right.
So based on the type of system, water system, it is a non-transient, non-community water system, or non-transient community water system, which steps it up in regulatory requirements. That's why the DNR is involved with that regulation.
Okay. I have a question for building inspection. On page 47 in the packet, there is a corresponding memorandum from the state of Wisconsin, from Eileen Pierce. Can you explain what is that?
1 second.
In the packet.
That's the agenda packet, yeah.
Page 45 of 57
well,
for that
there are
section.
3 numbers.
Yeah.
I am looking at the one in the middle. Is a corresponding memorandum, the state of Wisconsin, this one? It's in our packet. I just printed this afternoon, so it's online.
You said 47? It's from
47? Oh, that one, yeah. Yeah.
Through 46. That is from the Wisconsin DNR regarding the water service at the park.
Yeah, the failure to get, so we have a licensed operator now, but for several months, and maybe even longer, there was not a licensed operator there. They were just winging it. So this also pressed them to get that operator there, but also this is really the failure to correct the boil water system all the way through, and the failure. They don't really take the water pressure like we do. They stop right at the pressure tank. We take the distribution system out to the particular trailers. So remember, city, we're responsible for the sewer lines, water lines from the tank out the distribution system, and Dane County's in charge of the on-site sewage disposal, and then we're also in charge, or their DNR's in charge of the well and the water.
So on this one was dated November 25th,
Yes,
2024. So, okay.
And Mayor,
Yeah.
this is an enforcement action from the state. They don't do these haphazardly, so this is it might get pushed up to DOJ.
Okay. Jack?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that on the DNR a little bit. Because there was a loss of water pressure yesterday, the first call came in to our department at about 3 p.m. Roger was aware of it this morning and stuff, but by DNR standards, the owner of that park has to notify DNR immediately or within 1 day. They very well, because of the loss of pressure, they very well may be down there tomorrow, and we could be back into the boil water advisory again with a disinfectant, and we may be starting from scratch. But that's DNR's standard to make that call.
I think related to that loss of pressure, I think the well may have starved for water. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
again, you know, it's all guesswork for me. I'm not a water systems
And that's
guy.
something that the owner should be notifying DNR. I mean, he needs to be more in tune with what's going on down there.
Well, I talk to him multiple times a day. We're working real hard. We're battling trying to get this water pressure problem solved.
So when,
You know?
when do you think that you're going to have the water problem
Probably another
solved?
couple of weeks before we
A
get
couple
those
of weeks.
pumps installed.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to add a large ballast tank. Yeah, you got your water tower, right? In the city, that's where you get your water pressure from. Well, we don't have a tank. We just have a well that constantly supplies water. So I encourage, or I talked with the water people. I said, why don't we have a ballast tank? And just the mass of water helps create pressure in the line.
So do you think you're going to have the funding to
Ordered the pumps today.
Okay.
He just ordered $1,200 worth of booster pumps, I think it was. And he's as serious as a heart attack when it comes to getting this place straightened out.
Oh, really?
Believe
Okay.
me when I tell you.
Okay, yeah.
My only understanding is that his hands were tied because he had other people involved in the business.
Okay.
That's the story I got.
I
I'm
have
sticking
Jay
to it.
and Jim.
A quick note on that. The city, our staff, we have not seen anything about this. I've got a couple emails with some, notes of some tanks or stuff, but we've never seen a plan. We've never seen anything that's going to alleviate the pressure system there. So, once again, that probably has to go to DNR. We should review it. This stuff just can't go in haphazardly like it has been.
Present it and get plans.
But we haven't seen it, Roger. So that's the history of this whole park is
Okay.
we never see anything.
Okay, one at a time, please. I have two questions here. Before I want to ask a question, how many people are living in the park right now? Or
I've
families? How
got,
many?
it's a 51 lot
Yeah, no,
property.
I know the lots. I know
Got
the number. I want to
24
know
occupied
people.
trailers.
I want to know how many people live there. And how
I
many
don't have an
children.
exact count. I
Oh,
don't have
do
an
you
exact
that?
head count.
Okay, because that one would be nice to know how many people live there, what the demographics, age, because this one is important.
I've got a lot of old, poor people.
Okay, all old people. Okay, Jim.
This question's for building inspection. So after the summons or the notice to appear was sent out, you're still having problems that aren't being corrected?
We had fresh problems yesterday and today.
Thank you.
Jay.
Yeah. So, Roger's your name, right? You said that the owner is very motivated to get something done here.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
you may be unaware of this. You probably are. But over the last 2 weeks, the owner of this property, Mr. Reeves, has sent us a boatload of emails. I mean, the council, we've probably gotten 30 emails from this guy, threatening us with things, going crazy about all kinds of stuff. He was demanding that we change the date of this hearing so that he could make travel plans to be here, and he's not here. So the question is, why is he not here?
I think he left it up to me to provide the information that was needed. I personally don't know why he's not here.
Well, he represented to the council, to us, that he was going to be here tonight.
I thought he was too. I didn't get notice that he wasn't going to appear until late yesterday.
Okay, have a
All right, I still have a couple other questions.
1 second, Valerie has
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that I did extend to Mr. Reeves an offer to appear by Zoom if his travel plans were complicated by the holiday in the previous week. I'd mentioned that to him a couple of times, and
Did you send a link?
I asked him if he wished to do that, and he didn't reply.
Okay, I have another question.
Oh, yeah. You're John, right? Not you.
I'm
That-
John.
So,
So what I understand from this is that there is still sewage leaking even as we're sitting here right now. Is that correct?
yes.
What?
I'm going to say no.
Well, one at a
Well,
time.
one of you
He's
is gonna-
asking the
one
question
of
to
you is
him.
right and one of you is wrong. Which one is correct?
I'm going to admit that Roger has more firsthand knowledge of exactly, he's the one that's on site. What I'm speaking to is when we identify a problem, we issue an order that be corrected, and we receive no communication on that, we assume that that's continuing.
Okay. Well, even if it's not leaking today, all right?
It was leaking yesterday.
It was leaking yesterday.
Okay.
And that
all
was
right?
because the
And it's-
tank's over.
And it's been leaking since when? When was the first issuance of an order?
Way back in May 29th.
It's been leaking since May. So it seems to me that somebody who is serious about solving a problem would not go from May until, let's
These
be
are
generous
intermittent
and say
problems that
December.
occur?
Pardon me while I'm
I'm
talking
sorry.
while you're interrupting. It seems to me that we would not, someone who's serious about fixing this would not go from May until November to get a problem fixed. And that's the kind of question that I would like to ask Mr. Reeves is why is this taking so long? You're here tonight. I don't know if you're a legal representative for Mr. Reeves or not, but you're here saying he's got money, he's got this, he's got that, he's got the other thing, and yet these problems are not getting solved in anything even remotely a timely manner.
Can I make a statement? We got a plumber
do.
on retainer. The guy's driving around with $10,000 of our money sitting on his dashboard. I've got 17 calls into the guy. He still hasn't come to repair the sewer outlets. I've got 4 sewer connections that require these rubber boots, these Fernco connectors. Okay, I couldn't find any here in town. I had to order them out of Ohio right from the manufacturer because nobody has these connections for the 60-year-old sewer pipe that's used in this property. But I finally had to take it upon myself to kick somebody in the butt to get these parts. I had to get the parts. I've been waiting for the plumber to get the parts. I'm up to here waiting for people to perform. It seems like ever since COVID, all we've had is mediocrity in the marketplace.
That's not helping us here.
I'm trying to get it done.
Okay.
Mr. Rowley, how long has the plumber been holding on to this money?
Oh, months.
Well,
Months.
then, I mean, I hire contractors. I am a contractor. I don't have customers who will let me hold on to their money for months without performing.
Literally.
So something should have been done sooner. And we'll move on. We'll move on. 'Cause
Okay.
that's
Do you
just-
have any other question?
Oh, yeah, I got 2 more.
Okay, one second. Wait a second.
Okay.
Anyone else has question before? Okay, can we? Okay, go Bill first.
Yeah, I guess.
And then you go, Jay.
So following up on Mr. Reeves, got the will and the wherewithal to make this happen. The abatement plan that was submitted on August 26th, I mean, that's a long time ago. And at a high level, what sorts of things were in this plan and why was it rejected, 2.5 weeks later, if he's willing and able to make all of the abatements, the remediations that are required?
Who's going to answer that? You, John?
I'll answer it because I wrote the letter, but I don't have that right in front of me.
So you can see here on page 35.
Yeah, page 35, they're saying the wall equality and pressure issues, they conducted tests that it was showing no contamination while they didn't follow state statute. Sanitary and sewer issues, we still had those. We had leaks. Maintenance of clean and sanitary, there was absolutely nothing done in the park. Those piles of tires and everything, all that stuff. Could you please let me finish?
Okay.
So the painting, the skirting and stuff, none of that's happened on these trailers. Arborist came and basically cleaned up the easy trees, but as evidence, there's a tree growing into the trailer park that's going to actually move it off its foundation, what foundations they got, exterior decks and boards, all that stuff. So none of this was done. The drain field was not mowed. And when John was saying, because I also live on a septic, you get these deep roots like thistles and cockleburrs, they go in and that drains the system. That probably had brush growing on it. I mean, it had been mowed for years. So that hadn't been done, and then there was no dumpster, or there was a dumpster on the site, but it was always overflowing. So, and then no issuance of the license. So basically, all the stuff that they said they were going to do, nothing was done.
Okay,
I got
Jay?
pictures to contradict that, Mr.
Jay?
Crook.
I want to tell you something, Roger. I drove by that park last week, and it's deplorable how those people live in that park. So if this one you call living condition, I will say I totally disagree with you. I drove the park last week.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay.
I have some questions for our city clerk.
Okay.
The first one is, do you know when the last time is that this park had a valid operating license?
I do. Their license expired June 30th of 2023.
Okay, so that's
And it's
been
for
a
a
year.
year.
That's been a year and a half. They haven't had a valid license. Do you? I know you. Do you recall what the license fee is?
It's $250 for a year.
So they haven't even paid the $250 to renew the license.
That's correct.
And John, you had the slide up there and it's gone, but you had a total number for the amount of fees that have racked up from the citations.
Yeah, it was the last one, Chad.
It was like 21,000 something or other.
Yep.
27,000 citations.
Okay.
And still occurring.
Have any of those been paid?
No, they take us with the court and uncontested, so I don't even know where they go after that, but none of that's been paid. We haven't had anything.
So in addition to all these other physical problems, they don't have proper licensure, which you mentioned earlier, and they owe us $27,000 in fees.
Why not?
Okay.
Jay?
Okay,
Yes.
do you have another question or no?
No,
you're right.
Mayor?
No,
Okay.
I shot my wad.
I
Okay,
just wanted to let Jay know too that there's a lot of there's a bunch of stuff that's out at state collections that he hasn't paid either.
Okay.
Park fees and some bills that we billed to him in
Like
June for
yeah,
the water
like-
and.
Yeah, like the
Money
water
wagon.
we gave,
Oh.
we billed, we never got paid for. We personally took care of the building inspection part and sent out a honey wagon to pump it. We paid that bill, the city
yeah.
did. We've never got paid for
Any
that.
idea how much any of those are?
With
Yeah.
the park fees that are outstanding.
So maybe in the area of 35,000.
Yeah.
So-
You know, and
By
you say-
ordinance, Jay, he is supposed to be paying park fees by the 10th of every month based on how many people are living down there. And he just doesn't do it. That's an annual, he just doesn't pay it.
I have a question for Dane County. Do they have a valid license to operate right now with you?
They currently have a valid mobile home park license. That was expired as of June 30th and that was not renewed until, trying to remember now, I believe it was end of October, if I remember correctly, somewhere in that ballpark, when they finally paid the fees, paid the late fees, got back into good graces that, as far as that permit, which, as John said before, we are agent for Department of Safety and Professional Services that requires that license.
My other question is, do we have a current plan of action for all the things that they need to be fixed? Have we received that, or we are planning to receive a plan of action? What is the...
As of right now, we have nothing from them. And as I said, they're all reactive. There's nothing proactive going on in that park. It's all reactive.
Okay.
Water pressure goes, they come up with something else. Sewer goes, they come up with something else. So that's the problem with this. It's an older park. If you had an older car, You'd be taking in, changing the plugs and the oil and the filters. This is an older park. We need to be doing maintenance on that continually all year round. And it's not just this owner, but the last two owners kind of drove it into the ground. But we're even getting less done now because, as they say, we have what, 26 families down there?
From what we understand, there's 26 occupied trailers.
Occupied units.
But we don't know how many people.
No, but our job is to provide a safe and sanitary place to live. This is not safe and sanitary.
We think, Mayor, we think there's about 60 people.
Okay.
Around 50 to 60 people. With regards to the water pressure, I received a call last night at 10:15, and the residents couldn't even flush their toilet because there wasn't enough water pressure. With 12 pounds of pressure, you can't even take a shower.
Which unit did that complaint come from, Gabe? Can you tell me?
Trailer number 35.
Okay, so that's Brian.
Okay, I have a question here, Gabriela.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll take your word, Roger, that you're working very hard to work on these problems, but from our perspective, no action has been taken until essentially this chronic nuisance hearing was scheduled. Like, no.
We've done a lot the last few months, and again, I can't speak to what went on before I got there.
Yeah.
Spent $6,500 trimming trees, $12,000 in the sewer pit. We're spending another $5,500 tomorrow on the sewer pit.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that there's investments being made in the park. Like, that's what we all want. Every single one of us wants that to happen. But what I'm at like trying to make this decision, like the top three questions that were laid out to the council for what we should decide as part of this hearing are all agreed to by both parties. So I'm curious, like from your attorney perspective, like what is your, like, are you asking us to not name this a chronic nuisance property because they're making improvements? I'm just curious, like what is what are you asking of us? Because it just seems like, anyway.
Yes, that's the right question. And my answer is we don't dispute that the council can label this a chronic nuisance property. But we're here in an effort to show you, despite the history that Mr. Rinaldi didn't know about, and frankly I didn't know all about, that at least since Mr. Rinaldi's hiring, this is being taken seriously. Mr. Rinaldi is spending just about all of his work time handling these issues. And so we're asking the court to, excuse me, I usually practice before court, we're asking the council to just use its discretion and do what we believe is best for the community, which is to not label it a chronic nuisance property, but instead allow the funds that would be received by the city of Fitchburg to instead be used to improve the lives of the people who are living there. And since Mr. Rinaldi's hiring, the work is being done. It's not being done as fast as anybody would like it to be done, Mr. Reeves included. But it is being done. Plumbers are being retained as quickly as possible, believe it or not. Really, it's very difficult to find a plumber who wants to come out to the mobile home community. They thought they found one and the plumber took $10,000. So maybe they have to regroup, maybe they have to get on the plumber, maybe they have to sue the plumber. But I know from my experience, suing the plumber is not going to make them come out tomorrow.
No.
So action is being taken. It's not being taken so as to avoid the possibility of a designation for chronic nuisance, and I admit that. But we're asking the council to consider rejecting the determination, or at least using its discretion to not actually label this a chronic nuisance property and allow those funds to be put into the fix, the actual fix, rather than into the city of Fitchburg's coffers.
Yeah, so, Joe.
I mean, my concern has kind of been asked by several alders, which is the actual owner himself is not here to speak to some of the major questions that we have about a plan. And that would lead me to, want to continue to label it a chronic nuisance because as staff from both departments have stated, there's not an actual plan. And I think that puts you in a bad situation because without an actual spelled out plan, everything is you doing the best you can without an owner who's actually here to take accountability. He can send us dozens of emails, but he can't show up on Zoom.
Yeah.
That concerns me. He can ask for arrangements to be able to get here, and he's not here. And you can't even speak to his intentions because he's not clear on them. I think that you should do all that you can do. However, without the owner of this place to actually manage this and actually spell out that plan, I don't have confidence that it's going to get taken care of in the way that we need it to.
I want to ask you a question, Sam. Have you been there?
I have not. I was retained on Friday.
Go there. Okay. And my concern is, for how long we are going to continue with this behavior? For how long we are going to continue not to providing those people living in that park the more humane, basic condition? Water. And I don't...
Water. Yeah.
Water, okay. But the septic is still an issue, okay? And I ask you, council member, you need to go and visit the park. I know that some of you, I have been several times in the park, and there is no improvement at all.
I think you're wrong, Mayor. I'm sorry.
I had two pair of eyes, and I can see very well.
You see all the trailers that have the skirts repaired, all the grass that's been
a couple
cut?
of them, some painting, yes.
All the weeds that have been removed, the cinder blocks?
And my question is, for how long, as a city, we are going to continue to tolerate this? For how long? Okay?
Real quickly here. We're spending as we know, we're a growing city. We're spending way too many man hours, excessive time down there at that park because of, and I'm not blaming Roger, poor ownership. Mm-hmm. And what Roger's telling me, I don't give a shit if there's a skirt, excuse my French. Mm-hmm. You hit me a leg on that one. If there's a skirting around the trailer, we got water and sewage problems.
Yeah.
We are doing the low-hanging fruit here down there at the park, guys, and that's it. The low-hanging fruit doesn't make this a healthy, safe place to live. And that's what we have to do. Mm-hmm. That's what my job is.
No, I know.
I've been helping you in a lot of different stuff.
Okay. One second.
I'm sorry, I should have gone in on this.
1 second. You need to come and who are you? And you need to be in the microphone.
Hey, swear me.
Oh, you need to. Before you speak, you need to be.
Okay, sure.
I'm gonna swear you in first, okay? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Luke Taff, and I own a little small business. It's called Luke's Handyman Service and Repair. And I've been
I'm sorry,
actually
we can't hear you. Can you move closer to the microphone?
My name is Luke Taff, and I've been I own a little small business named Luke's Handyman Service and Repair. And I've been out on site before Roger was even hired. Mm-hmm. So before Roger was hired, I was there for like a week before that. And I got to know Chris just by Zoom, had a Zoom meeting. He wanted to hire me for maintenance and stuff like that. So we decided to do a subcontracting thing. So I did the subcontracting thing. I've been on site since August 26th. Here and there, yeah, it's all because I think, in my opinion, on this behalf, some of these trailers are not even owned by this park. They're being told to get them cleaned up and taken care of, but it seems like everybody don't really have the time or the money or the capital or anything like that to be able to get it done. But that's my thoughts, okay, on that behalf. I have done a lot of work in this park. And I continue to do a lot of work in this park. I'm up there right now. I'm just doing demo the building. I'm still in the middle of the demo. The demo should be done tomorrow, and that should all be cleaned up. There's other things that, need to be done, but it's kind of hard for like a owner like Chris to be possibly trying to come up with the funds and stuff like that. He might have funds. Who knows? Who knows what the guy really has, But it seems like he is trying. He's trying really hard to do what he can do, the best he can do, especially with this park when it seems like no one's paying rent. That's what I've been told by a couple different residents, that they don't pay rent. So how is he supposed to get his money back into this park
Well, that
When-
one is, I want to say, if he doesn't know how to run his business and people don't pay the rent, it's not our problem. So I think I'm going to call the question. So
Yeah, that was a
Council?
question. I apologize.
Yeah, thank you.
Mayor, if I may just make one request.
Yeah.
My simple request.
Thanks for stepping
It-
up. I mean,
it-
it's just we've been doing so much.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to see that.
It seems exceedingly clear to me that this council is going to declare this property a chronic nuisance. I will just ask that instead of having the company be required to pay this money to the city of Fitchburg, instead, it pays the money to the city of Fitchburg to be held in escrow to be spent on these problems. That's what I will ask. That's all.
Can I say something,
Can you
please?
go to close? Okay.
I
Jay.
don't-
And then
I-
I call the question, and then that's it.
All right. I'm going to be brutal with you here. John had enumerated, what was it, $167,000 in staff time so far that our building inspection department has, how much?
16,000.
16,000, whatever it is. That, I don't know what, I mean, the numbers don't really matter at this point. You add that to the 35,000 we identified earlier, that's over $50,000. Essentially, the rest of the taxpayers of the city of Fitchburg are being asked now to subsidize the repairs at this park that the owner has been negligent in doing over the years that he's owned it since 2017. That is not a reasonable request of the taxpayers of the city. And God knows how much more time the building inspection department is going to have to spend over the next year, because some of this work is going to be hard to get done when the ground is frozen. I appreciate that you're here and you're trying to represent your client. And I appreciate that you're trying to throw things against the wall that you probably know full well aren't going to stick. But the bottom line is that this is not new. None of this is new. This has been going on for years. And by years, I don't mean 1 or 2. I mean like 7. It's been a long time that we've been having these ongoing issues. And I am not interested in helping the owner fix problems that he helped create.
Okay, Jim, and you're the last one.
I'm just sorry, Mayor, but these people living here are vulnerable. And I'm sorry, nobody should be living with sewage going around. And I heard what you said, but I wouldn't pay rent either if I had to walk through sewage. And this is not fair, and we owe the people who live there the best that we can do. And that is a safe area and healthy area. And so people with money come in, and all of a sudden now you want to fix everything. They shouldn't have been living like that in the first place. That's all, Mayor. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you. So I'm gonna call the order of, so no one speak anymore. Okay, so I don't know if the council wants to go to a closed session or we go directly to someone move another resolution.
But I move the resolution that we recognize this as a chronic nuisance.
Second.
That would be resolution
R226.
R22624.
Okay, who is second this?
Second.
Second by Jim. Any other question, comments about that discussion?
I would request a roll call vote.
Okay, roll call.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Dancer Jr. is absent. Alder Gerhart.
Aye.
Alder Herps.
Aye.
Alder Jetzer.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Raffadar is absent. Alder Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, the
I
motion
would
carries.
request that the minutes show it was a unanimous vote.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So next is announcement. Next common council meeting is December 10. And next committee of the whole meeting is January 22nd. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So we are adjourning at 8:40. Thank you very much. Thank you.